Hello and welcome to this webinar on how to get a data science job in 2022. My name is Akash. I am the lead instructor and CEO at Jovian. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to start by talking about what it takes to break into data science. Next, we will try and understand the different job roles available in data science and identify which ones you should be targeting. Next, we will talk about acquiring the right skills and building projects for data science roles. And there are various different courses, programs available online. So we'll try and talk about the smallest set of skills that you need to develop and projects you need to build to get your first data science role. Then we will talk about crafting a strong resume and LinkedIn profile. Next, we will talk about preparing for data science interviews. So just having the skills isn't enough. You need to be able to present them well in an interview setting. You need to be able to answer technical questions. And finally, we talk about applying for jobs the right way. So this is all that you will need to know and work on to get your first data science job this year. So let's talk about breaking into data science. What do employers look for? So the first thing that is almost a necessary requirement for data science is a STEM degree, which means a science, technology, engineering, or mathematics degree. It can be a bachelor's degree, it doesn't have to be a master's degree, but a master's degree would give you stronger chances. A bachelor's degree would give you still fairly good chances. If you have a PhD, that's wonderful. Most importantly, it doesn't have to be a degree in data science or even computer science. It can be any stream as long as you have learned basic mathematics and science. So that's unfortunately a hard requirement. If you do not have a degree, or let's say if you've dropped out, you can still get in, but then the other parts of your profile need to be really strong. So what else do we need? Next, you need to have expertise in programming. You need to be able to write code, preferably in a language like Python or R, but any language is fine as long as you are familiar with basic programming concepts and you can write programs. The other thing that is important is because data is basically numbers, a lot of numbers. So numbers have to be summarized using statistics. So you have to understand, you have to be familiar with terms like mean, median, mode. You have to know about probabilities because you're dealing with uncertainties and predictions. You have to know about probability distributions, random variables, some topics like hypothesis testing, etc. And these are all skills that are also tested in interviews. They're going to ask you very basic questions like finding the probability of getting 6 heads when you toss a coin 10 times. Okay. So definitely brush up on your statistics and probability. Next, of course, to get into data science, you need some data science skills, which means data analysis. You should be able to download data from an online source, clean it, process it, summarize it, create visualizations. And for some more advanced roles, you also need machine learning, although it's an optional requirement for most entry-level roles. But it's always a good thing to have on your resume or in your profile, basic machine learning skills. So definitely need that. Then here is one thing that will be missing in a lot of profiles here. And the number one reason that you're unable to make that career transition, you need some demonstrated real world experience and projects. So if you've done an internship, that is great. That is going to be really helpful. If you're already working in this domain or in your current job, even in a different role, you have worked with data and you have analyzed data or you have gathered business insights from data or made decisions using data, then that's a good thing to have. But most of you, I would imagine, would not have any work experience with data science. So then you need to have some really good portfolio projects. And these are not just projects that you've done and left on your computer. You need to document these projects. You need to publish them online, and then you need to include them and showcase them on your resume and on your professional profiles. Okay. And then finally, after all of this, after building projects, after completing courses, after documenting things online, you need to know how to do well in interviews, because interviewing is a whole different ball game. You need to prepare for interviews, and we'll share some resources around that. And you need to know how to apply for jobs the right way, because it's not going to happen that you just apply for 2 or 3 jobs and then you get interview calls and get hired in one. You may have to apply for as many as 100 to 200 jobs, because this is such a crowded field and there is it's very easy for anybody to just click apply on a job on LinkedIn, right? So you need to know some smart techniques to make sure that you can apply to jobs the right way and keep track of things efficiently. So that's what it takes to break into data science. And we are going to now talk about how you can how you can make sure that you tick all the boxes here. Okay. So here's one thing that I would encourage you to think about as you're getting into data science, because data science is such a fast growing domain and every company, every industry around the world requires data scientists and data analysts. The career growth in data science is huge, right? It is exponential compared to other domains where it is largely linear. In data science, you will experience a exponential career growth, but it also means that where you start out, that point may be slightly lower than where you're currently at, right? So keep that in mind. I think it's a good picture to have about data science. So next, let's talk about the data science, the different data science job roles, and specifically which ones you should target and which ones you should not. So here are some roles that you should target. One is a data analyst or a business analyst role. And a data analyst or business analyst role, typically your job is to gather data from different sources within a company. And then you clean that data, combine data from multiple sources, analyze it, look at different columns, look at things like mean, median, quartiles, distributions, histograms, plot a bunch of graphs, scatter plots, bar charts, histograms, analyze that data, gather insights from that data, and then prepare, find answers to questions. For example, answering a question like how much sales did we generate last quarter, or how many users are returning to our platform month on month, and things like that. And then help the business stakeholders make decisions using that data. And a business analyst is typically doing a similar job, except that the data analyst is generally using code, using tools like Python, NumPy, Pandas, whereas a business analyst is not using those tools. He's generally using tools like Excel, Tableau, maybe a little bit of SQL. So these are a couple of roles that you should get into, that you should try and target when getting into data science. But if you have some experience in programming and you have a strong background in mathematics and statistics, and you've done some work in machine learning, then you can also target a junior data scientist role. So it really depends on how much you have learned and how strong you are at your fundamentals of programming and statistics, that you can decide whether you should go for a data analyst or a junior data scientist role. What I would suggest for most people is try and get into a data analyst role as soon as possible, get the experience clock ticking, and then try to continue learning on the side and move into a junior data scientist role. So these are the couple of roles that you should target. Apart from this, you will also see roles like product analyst, because this is a new domain. So everybody's still figuring out what they should call these roles. So product analyst is another role that you can look at. Any role that has these keywords, Python, NumPy, SQL, visualization, analysis, you can get into. And a decision analyst is also a special kind of data analyst who is focused around making decisions using data. And that's just another role that you will see out there when you search for jobs. So these are the roles that you should target. Now, one mistake that we see a lot of people making is applying to roles that you should not be targeting initially when you're trying to get into the domain. So you should not be ideally targeting a data engineer role or a big data engineer role unless you have prior software development experience. Now, understand that data engineering and data science are, although related, but fairly separate domains in terms of the skills that you require. And data engineering is more on software, on DevOps, on deployment, monitoring, etc. Not so much on data analysis and visualization. So you should not be applying for data engineer roles. And you'll realize this if you read job descriptions carefully. You should also not be applying for machine learning engineer roles just immediately, unless you have extensive software development experience. So that's an important piece here. If you have software development experience, then you can try and approach a machine learning engineer role as well. But if not, I would keep to a data analyst or a junior data scientist role. You will see roles like AI researcher or AI practitioner, ML researcher, deep learning researcher. I would avoid those roles unless you have done ideally a PhD in the field, or you hold a master's degree in data science or machine learning. If you hold a PhD or a master's and you have a research project to showcase, ideally a published paper, but if not, at least a couple of research projects where you've tried to push the state of the art by exploring new techniques or maybe implementing papers that have come out recently. You should not be applying for this role. And these are all roles that you can definitely target in the long term, but not when you want to get in. You want to get the experience clocked again. And this should go without saying. Any senior or lead or principal data scientist roles, please don't apply for them. You are just wasting your time. You're wasting the time of the company that's hiring for these roles. This is something that you should target maybe 3 to 5 years into your data science career and not immediate. Okay. So data analyst, data scientist, junior data scientist, and product analyst, decision analyst, these are the roles you should target. All right. So that's the roles that you should target. Now let's talk about how to acquire the right skills for these roles. Okay. So there are a couple of things here. You not only have to acquire the right skills, but you also have to build projects where you can showcase these skills. So acquiring skills and building projects. Here are the skills that you need to acquire. The first is programming with Python. Of course, you need to learn Python programming. Python is the language of choice for most companies right now. Some of them still use R, but Python is a safe bet. It's also a general purpose programming language. So you can also use it later for web development, backend development, automation, etc. So definitely learn programming with Python, things like functions, loops, data types, variables, classes, get enough practice questions on lead code or other platforms. Then, as I mentioned, you need to learn statistics for data science. So there are several statistics courses available online. A great place to learn statistics is actually Khan Academy, which is the statistics you need for data science is largely high school level. You don't need college level statistics or something too advanced. So that's something you can learn. Then you need to learn data analysis with Python. This means you need to know tools like pandas, NumPy, etc. You need to be able to comfortably work with data sets containing millions of rows of data, at least hundreds of thousands. You need to, using code, you need to know how to use Jupyter notebooks. You need to know how to create, export visualizations. So data visualization is another skill that you need to acquire. Then you should also learn some non-coding tools and tools like SQL, which is the language used to extract data from databases. You should be familiar with Excel or spreadsheets because a lot of stakeholders that you'll work with in your job will be using Excel, etc. And you need to know business intelligence tools like Tableau to create dashboards. And then finally, one other skill that you should try and cover, it's optional, I would say, for a data analyst role, but still a good thing to have, will give you an edge when you apply for jobs, is machine learning with Python. So classical machine learning, things like unsupervised learning, linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, random forest, gradient boosting, and you should be able to do this using tools like Scikit-Learn. You don't need a lot of deep learning experience to get into data science. That will be useful later on in your career. You don't need a lot of DevOps, software development, or data engineering skills if you're getting into a data analyst role. So these skills, if you can cover them, those are good enough. And if you want to build these skills on your own, we've actually put together a data science self-study roadmap. So we're going to share a bunch of resources today with you, and all the resources that we're sharing with you will be shared in the description. So definitely check them out there. So here's the data science self-study roadmap. So we've put together a collection of largely free courses, free online courses that you can take up. It will take you about 6 to 8 months to learn all of this material. And here's what you should try and learn. So here's a course, Mathematics for Data Science and Machine Learning. This is a course on Coursera. So you can take that course there. Then here's the course on programming with Python. This is a free online practical course that you can work through. So here's Mathematics for Machine Learning, the specialization on Coursera. You can take most of the courses for free. You can audit the courses or you can pay to get a certificate. Practical Python programming. This is a course that you can work through. This is online and you can follow along with it on your computer. Then we have this course on databases, Excel, and SQL. So this is again a set of courses on Coursera that you can take. Now, once you build these foundations, you should focus on data analysis and visualization. That's where we have a course on data analysis with Python, zero to pandas. This is one of our most popular courses. So you can find this on Jovian. Now we have a course on machine learning as well. If you go on Jovian, jovian.ai/learn, you will find a course on machine learning. This is a practical machine learning course that you can take up. Alongside, you can also learn data structures and algorithms in Python. And if you want to explore deep learning, that's a course we have as well. Apart from that, there are a few other courses that we've listed here that you can check out. So once you've covered these, the prerequisites and the basics, and maybe a little bit of deep learning as well, then you can go on, and some of these are optional. Then you can go on and prepare for. You can take some courses on data structures and algorithms. You can take some courses on career readiness. We have a course on this as well. And finally, you should be trying to get an internship or just apply for jobs, keep doing some programming practice. So definitely check out the self-study roadmap if you want to learn data science on your own. So it's not enough to just learn these skills. And in fact, you don't really learn these skills just by watching videos or executing code. You need to build projects, and you need to build large real world projects on actual data, large data sets. And by large, typically tens of thousands of rows or hundreds of thousands of rows of data, ideally even millions of rows. And here are some projects that you should try and build. And I'll share resources for all of these. One is one of the most important projects for you is going to be a project on exploratory data analysis and visualization. Then another project that you should be building is on web scraping with Python. This is a way to get data from online online websites using things like Python and Selenium. Then you should be trying to build a machine learning project. If you're targeting a data scientist role, if you're targeting a data analyst role, you generally don't need a machine learning project. And if, again, depends on the kind of roles that you want to apply for, you can also try building a project on deep learning with TensorFlow or PyTorch, but this is completely optional. I would not start with this project. I would start with an exploratory data analysis project, and I would build maybe 2 or 3 of these projects just to be sure, just to show enough variety and showcase all the skills that you have. And I would then focus on web scraping or classical machine learning. So, and then only think about deep learning. Okay. Now, to build these projects, we've actually done hands-on data science workshops where we build all these projects from scratch. So we have this playlist, and this is again shared in the description. We have this playlist where we build these projects from scratch, live coding, and you can follow along with these workshops. Each of these is about 2 hours long. So you can open this up in one tab, and in another tab, you can follow along. And we also describe how to build this project for a topic of your choice, how to find a topic, how to find a data set, and follow along and just change a few things here and there to apply it to your project and build a project. So there's one tutorial on building an exploratory data analysis project. There's one on building a machine learning project. There's one on building a deep learning project. And then there are a couple on building a web scraping project as well. So you should definitely check out these workshops from us. Otherwise, there are also a lot of tutorials available online. But the key thing that I want to stress here is that you need to build large real world portfolio projects, something that is going to impress a potential employer. Next up, one very important part in this entire process is to share your work online. If you build the project and that project is sitting on your computer, then it is as good as not doing the project, because when you apply, the potential employer or recruiter will not be able to verify that you've actually done the work. Anybody can write that they've done a project on their resume, but if you've built a project and put it up online, only then you'll be able to add a link to it on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile. So any courses you complete, get the certification and just add it to your LinkedIn profile. It just makes it slightly more credible that you've actually done the course. So definitely getting certifications, if you can afford it, I would recommend it. Publish your projects online. So on Jovian, you can publish your projects. You can also publish your projects on GitHub, wherever you want. And you can also write blog posts. So here we have a Jovian community blog where every week participants of the Jovian courses and Jovian bootcamps start publishing projects. So you can write blog posts. You can become a contributing author to our blog, and then we can share your projects with the world. We can share them in our newsletters. We can share them on social media, and that way you can get some visibility. So Medium is a good platform for writing blog posts, and you can always contribute to the Jovian publication. Or there are several others that you can contribute to. And you should be sharing your projects on LinkedIn and Twitter. Even when you start a project, you can share your update. You can share a daily update on where your project is on LinkedIn. You can share it on Twitter. You can use the right hashtags. This way, people are going to find you. People are going to see that you're doing work. And it's important for you to build your personal brand as somebody who's very actively pursuing data science. And the key idea here is any work you do, it just takes maybe 5 or 10% additional effort to put that work up online. But it allows you to be found instead of you finding work. If you take every course that you've done and add it on your LinkedIn profile, and every project that you made, document it well and put it up online, then you will be able to attract inbound job opportunities from recruiters and data science employers. So definitely put them up online. It's worth the additional effort because opportunities will come to you instead of you having to apply for dozens or hundreds of jobs. Also, when you apply for jobs and somebody is looking through a set of different profiles, your profile will stand out if they can go online and verify that you have been doing work in data science for the last 6 months and sharing your progress online. So apart from that, if you are into books, if you find it easier to learn from books, then I would definitely recommend getting some of these books, not all of them. You can get the one that you need for the topic that you need to work the most in. Introductory Statistics by Sheldon M. Ross. That's a great book. Python for Data Analysis by Wes McKinney, the creator of the Pandas library. That's again a great book to check out. Hands-on Machine Learning with Scikit-Learn, Keras, and Tensorflow. This is a good practical introduction to machine learning. And finally, a book that's come out recently is the Data Science Interview, which contains 200 plus real interview questions that are asked in large companies and tech startups. So these are 4 books that will largely cover all the bases. So that's how you can cultivate the skills for data science. I've shared a bunch of free courses. I've shared a bunch of free workshops. But one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is finding a good structured curriculum and the discipline and the guidance to go through it. That's why at Jovian, we also run a 6-month data science bootcamp where we cover 7 practical courses, all the topics that I mentioned. We have 14 coding assignments so that you can practice the skills. And you build 4 real world projects guided by us. And you have 24/7 support over Slack and or for doubt clarification over Zoom. So if you think you need that help, if you think you need a structure, if you think you need guidance, and if you want to make your projects great, then I would suggest checking out the Zero to Data Science Bootcamp. And you can go to zero2datascience.com to check it out. Okay. So that's about the skills and the projects that you need to build your profile. Next, once you've acquired these skills and once you've created a few projects, you need to now showcase these skills online on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile. So let's talk about that. First of all, you should be creating a single page resume. A lot of people tend to create 2 or 3 page resumes with everything that they've ever done and with a lot of different sections, things like objectives, hobbies, etc. You need to create a single page resume, and your single page resume should have just these 3 or 4 sections. The first section should be education, just summarizing your degrees, your bachelor's, master's degrees. You don't have to mention high school and before. If you have done maybe a boot camp or a significant online program, intensive course, then you can mention that as well. So education is something that you will start with. You want to mention the relevant courses from every degree that you have pursued. You want to mention any accomplishments, awards, any relevant projects, any published papers, any research that you've done, mention that. Work experience, you want to talk about your prior work experience and try to focus the experience around data science if you've done any projects related to data science. If not, that's perfectly fine too. Then you need to talk about your projects, the data science projects you've built. And this is why you need to build projects first, and then you need to present them well on your resume. And then finally, you need to just list out any certifications you have or the list of skills that you've cultivated in data science so that it becomes easy for somebody looking at your resume to understand what skills you possess. Okay. And you don't need more than these 4 sections. These 4 sections are more than enough. And here is the key. your resume should pass the 10-second test when it is placed next to a job listing. So this is something that you can do today. What you can do is just go to linkedin.com, and on linkedin.com, you can go to jobs, and here search for data analyst Python. Put in the location that you're searching in, select experience level, entry level, and that should give you a bunch of roles to choose from. So here, for example, data analyst at Hotstar, and you can copy over this information about the responsibilities and roles. So here's what it says, or you can take a screenshot. So here's what it requires. This requires some experience. This requires, so I would probably skip this if it requires a lot of experience, but anything under 2 years of experience is probably fine if you have good projects. It requires a degree. It requires skills, Tableau, Excel, SQL. It requires presentation skills, verbal communication, project management. So you want to capture all of this information, and then you want to put it side by side with your resume. So this is the view that you should be looking at. On the left, you should have information about a job role. On the right, you should have your resume, your one-page resume. And then within 10 seconds, by looking at the job listing and looking at the resume, within 10 seconds, you should be able to say that this is a good match. So let's try and do that here. This is a data scientist role. Responsibility is analyzing data. Looks like this person has analyzed data. Designing accurate and scalable prediction algorithms. Looks like this person has done classification. So this person has created prediction algorithms. A bachelor's degree or equivalent. Looks like this person holds a bachelor's degree in computer science. 1 to 2 years of experience. Okay, that may not be there, but this person has an internship, so that's fine. Fluency in a programming language. Definitely this person has experience in Python. Familiarity with big data frameworks. Okay, that's something that's not covered here. So this is the way in which you can identify whether your profile is a good fit for a job role. And I would in fact encourage you to first look up 10, 15, 20 different job opportunities, and then determine if you have all the right skills. If you don't have the right skills, do courses to fill those skill gaps, and then craft your resume so that your resume, when put side by side with these job roles, seems like a good match. And to help you out here, we have created a couple of data science resume templates that you can use. So here's one. This is on bit.ly/data science resume one. And this is a Google Doc. So you can create a copy of this. You can go to file, make a copy, and then make a copy for yourself. And then you can just change the information here. So here's information about your education, the courses, any highlights from the education. So if you've done a boot camp online, you can mention this. If not, then you can mention your master's or bachelor's degrees. You can mention your skills and certifications. You can mention the projects that you worked on. So here are 3 projects. You can mention the work experience that you have if you have any work experience. So this first resume is well suited for somebody who does not have a lot of experience, so who might be considered a fresher, maybe under 2 years of experience. But apart from this, we also have a second data science resume template, and this one is better suited for somebody who has some experience already. So here is the education, maybe a master's, maybe a work experience, maybe some projects and skills and certification. So no matter how many years of experience you have, you can always fit all your information into one page, and you can use these resume templates that we've shared with you. We have optimized the font sizes, spacing, etc. And we've also given examples of how to present projects on your resume. So I hope you will find this useful while creating your resume. In a lot of cases, if you're getting rejected from data science roles, it could just be that you have a bad resume and you're not presenting the information about yourself properly. Next, it's not enough to have a resume, because typically a resume is only shared when you apply to a job. Alongside, you should also have a strong LinkedIn profile. You should have a complete LinkedIn profile with all the important information presented, all your projects presented there, all your educational work experience presented. So here are a few tips for your LinkedIn profile. One, make sure to include the right keywords. So you want to make sure you're including the words like data science, machine learning, data analysis, Python, so that if recruiters are searching using keywords, they can find your profile easily. Make sure to showcase your projects, and I'll show you an example in a bit, but you can, once you publish your projects online and document them, you can link to them from your LinkedIn profile, and they will be featured there for anybody to see who visits your profile. And anybody who is going to interview for a role is going to see your LinkedIn profile. So definitely don't ignore it. Describe your education and describe your work experience. It's not enough to just put in the name of the company. You should try and have a few lines explaining what you did or what you learned, especially anything related to data science that will be useful for somebody who's considering you for a job. And LinkedIn has several skill assessments. You can complete those skill assessments because when people put up jobs on LinkedIn, they often have the option of checking whether the applicants have completed any skill assessments, and your profile will rise to the top if you've completed skill assessments, and they're free of cost. And finally, you can also indicate on LinkedIn that you're open for work. So these are some tips regarding your LinkedIn profile. And I want to show you a couple of examples of LinkedIn profiles. So here's one. This is the profile of Ankit Pratap. He is working as a data analyst at the Ballot House UK, and he was part of the Jovian Data Science Bootcamp. But it's a good example to look at his profile. So he has mentioned all the keywords: data science, machine learning, product analysis, mathematics. These are the areas that he's skilled in. He has mentioned information about himself, that he's completed a master's in 2019. He's been learning data science. He's completed projects on these areas and is currently working. He's looking for these positions. So it's a useful thing to indicate and summarize in just 3 or 4 sentences what your background, what you're looking for. Then he has featured projects here. So he's done an exploratory data analysis project on COVID vaccination. And I can click through and view his project here, which is hosted on his Jovian profile. I can browse through everything that he's done in the project. So it's very well organized, the project as well. Similarly, there's a project on web scraping and there's a project on exploratory data analysis. So that's great. Then here is his experience, and then here is his education, where he has mentioned information on the courses he's completed, the specific topics related to data science that he's covered, and so on. Now, you can also add some skills here and you can get endorsements. So if you know somebody who has worked with you, who can vouch for you, try to get an endorsement from them. Otherwise, definitely try and complete some skill assessments. I'm going to show you one more example here of a LinkedIn profile. Here is one. This one belongs to Harshit Gupta. He's a country business analyst at Decathlon India. Again, you can see the tools and technologies that he's familiar with. They are mentioned here. You can see here some explanation or some information about himself and about his work in the past. He's also listed his technical skills. He has featured a bunch of projects, and if you've posted your or shared your projects on LinkedIn and they've received a lot of likes, you should definitely share that as well. Similarly, you should mention your experience and your education, right? And any certifications that you have, any courses you've completed, you should definitely mention those courses as well. And you should also include any skills or endorsements that you have. So yeah, this is again a great LinkedIn profile. And this allows your profile to be found by recruiters when they do. You can see here, I can see this view recruiter button, so I can directly shortlist search it for a job if I have a job opening over it. So hopefully these two profiles will be useful. So those were some sample LinkedIn profiles. Next, I want to talk about interview preparation. Now you've gathered the skills, you have built some projects, you have created a resume, and you have created a LinkedIn profile. All that's great, but now you need to be able to clear interviews. And that's a huge task in itself, preparing for interviews. That requires another completely different set of skills, which is communication and then just practice, a lot of preparation. So for this, we have put together a very detailed data science interview preparation guide. So if you go to dsinterviewprep.com, here you will find the most comprehensive set of guidelines and questions for data science interview preparation. Okay. In this guide, we have, first of all, an explanation of how to use this guide. And then we have some mock data science interviews so that you can see what a data science interview feels like. These are videos on YouTube. We have some examples of non-technical interview questions that you generally get asked in interviews. We have a list of coding challenges that you can take on platforms like LeetCode to prepare for the technical coding portion of the interviews. Then we have a set of technical interview questions by topic based on all the topics that we talked about. And then finally, we have a glossary of the data science terms that you may need to become familiar with. So here's how you can use this guide. You can watch 2 to 3 mock interviews for your target job role, whether that is a data analyst role or a data scientist role or a product analyst role. Then you should write down answers to the non-technical questions. You have to prepare for an interview like an exam. And there are certain questions that will be asked almost certainly. So you should have prepared answers, not answers that you've by hearted, but at least a list of pointers that you want to cover in the when you are asked on that question. Then when you want to start preparing for interviews, you should try solving 3 to 5 coding challenges on a platform like LeetCode every week. So that means roughly one question every day or every other day. Using the approach that we suggest, you should practice 3 to 5 technical interview questions for your target job role every single day. And again, we have a whole bunch of technical interview questions for you to choose from. And then if you need to look up specific terms, you can look them up in the deal size glossary. And one tip that we have for technical questions is to try and answer each question out loud, because you have to ultimately answer them out loud. So you may think of a concept, but unless you're able to describe it in a short, crisp, clear sentence, you do not really know the concept. So that's why answering questions out loud and writing answers on paper or in a doc is a useful way to practice. And you should be re-practicing the questions that you were unable to answer. So here we have created questions in such a way that you can first try to answer it and then reveal the answer. And we've grouped the questions by easy, medium, hard as well. Once you have done this work, once you have spent a couple of weeks practicing technical interview questions, then typically for people who are part of the Jovian Data Science Bootcamp, they can schedule mock interviews with us. But if not with us, you can try and find somebody, a friend who's working in a data science role or maybe a study partner, and ask them to take a mock interview by referring to the sample mock interviews that are available online as a reference. Okay. We also have a job readiness rubric here, which you can use to check if you have all the right skills. And you are, of course, a part of it is communication, professionalism, presentation skills. If you have all of that, right? So you can go through this job readiness rubric. And here is a list of data science mock interviews that you can watch. So quite a few of these, you just need to watch 2 or 3 to get a sense, but at least watch one. Don't go into an interview without knowing what you're going to expect. And then here's a list of non-technical questions. There's some guidance on how to answer them. Here are some of the questions that you should have prepared answers for. Tell me about yourself. Why are you interested in data science? Tell me about one of your projects. What makes you a strong candidate? Tell me about your prior experience. Why are you interested in this company, etc., etc. Right? So these are all great questions that you should just know what you are going to say, and so that you don't have to think up answers on the spot. Then here is a list. Here's a guide on how to attempt coding challenges on platforms like LeetCode. And here is some guidance on how to approach these problems. So as I said, 3 to 5 questions a week, which means in about 2 months or so, you should have solved 50 to 60 problems. Largely easy ones are enough, but you can also try solving medium questions. It depends on the kind of role that you're applying for. Typically for a data analyst role, some easy problems should be good enough. Then here, we have put together for you a set of questions, technical interview questions, and you can open up, for example, statistics for data science. And here we've categorized a bunch of different interview questions: coin tosses, conditional probability, measures of central tendency. And all of these questions are organized in the order of difficulty. And you can read a question, then you can try to answer the question. And if you are able, and then once you've tried to answer the question, you can check your answer. So here's something basic. You can attempt these questions starting from very easy to very difficult. There are some of these are theoretical, some of these are technical that involve math, etc. And this is something that you have to do continuously. You should be solving 3 to 5 questions daily, so that through the job hunting process over a month and a half to 2 months, you've solved maybe a few hundred questions. Okay. So dsinterviewprep.com, definitely check it out. Especially if you're looking to apply immediately, you should be spending 1 or 2 hours preparing for interviews every day. All right. So now we've talked about how to prepare for interviews, and we've covered the skills, we've built the projects. But you also need to be smart about applying to jobs the right way. And there are many different ways of applying for jobs. And these, in terms of how easy they are, we're going to go from the easiest to the hardest. But that also means that the one that is the easiest is the least effective, and the ones that is the hardest is the most effective. So the easiest is LinkedIn's Easy Apply. People put up job listings on LinkedIn, and you can apply to them with your LinkedIn profile in one click. It's important to have a well filled out, a complete polished LinkedIn profile for this with all the information, certifications, projects, descriptions included. That will increase your chances of getting shortlisted. But because it's so easy to apply on LinkedIn, a lot of people apply, and getting shortlisted is generally very difficult. There's a less than 10% chance of getting shortlisted, even if your profile is a good match. Then you have job sites like AngelList, Indeed, Naukri.com. So you can just go online on Google and you can say data analyst job Bangalore, and you will find options. So here, for example, there are some data analyst jobs in Naukri.com, and you can apply here, business analyst or data analyst at Genpact. And you just need to have your resume. You need to have answers to some common questions, and then you can apply to this role. Again, you need to pass the 10-second test. So make sure that these skills are matching and are showing up on your resume. This is a little harder than LinkedIn, which means that you have slightly better chances of getting shortlisted here. But both with LinkedIn and the job sites, try to apply for jobs within 48 hours of them being posted, ideally within hours of them being posted, to make sure that your profile is seen. If too many people have already applied, then your profile simply will not be noticed. Then you can apply via a company website, for example, facebook.com/careers. So large companies have websites. You can go on these websites and you can apply. So let's say here I search for data analyst. Yeah, so you find a lot of different data analyst jobs here. You can you can filter them by location. Let's look at location Asia Pacific and let's click apply. Yeah, data analyst global operations. This one is based in Singapore. You can check the requirements again, do the same, make sure that your resume covers these skills. You can see the same skills, Tableau, SQL, Python, hypothesis testing, prevalence. So the set of skills that you need is not very different for all these roles, but sometimes you may have maybe a slightly different thing. But here again, you can see there's an alternative Tableau that's mentioned here. One of the things that people look for is communication and presentation. That's why it's important to have well documented projects and maybe even blog posts. So that's how you apply from company websites. Once again, because again, this is slightly harder to find, you have to go company by company. So your chances of getting shortlisted are slightly higher. Of course, assuming that your profile matches the criteria that the company is looking for. Next, here is one that works really well, which is our cold outreach to recruiters and employers. What you should try and do every time you see a job listing online is try to figure out who has posted that job listing, right? Try to find out if it was posted by a recruiter or if it was posted by a team lead in a certain team. And you can do this on LinkedIn, find this person on LinkedIn, send them a connection request, and then send them a note saying that you are interested in this role. You can send them an email or you can send them a note on LinkedIn. And often that will help you skip this application process because hundreds of people will apply to the job listing, but maybe 2 or 3 will reach out on LinkedIn, and people generally don't mind it as long as you have a relevant profile. So it's absolutely fine to reach out. And the chances of you getting an interview is much higher if you do this. And the chances of getting an interview are the highest if somebody who is already working in that job, in that company or in that team can refer you for that role. So if you have friends, batchmates from college or friends of friends, acquaintances, people in your network who are working in data science roles, and if they can refer you internally, if you send them your resume, ask them if you would be a good fit for a role opening they have at their company, and if they can refer you internally, then you are almost certainly going to directly get an interview, right? So it can save, you can go apply to hundreds of LinkedIn jobs and never get a single callback, but you can get 2 or 3 referrals, and that may lead to 1 or 2 interviews and even 1 or 2 job offers, right? So this was definitely harder. This was definitely you will feel a lot of resistance reaching out and asking, but you should be using all the help that you can get if you think you are a good fit for the role. So definitely try and reach out. And finally, absolute best way to get hired is to not apply at all, but build great projects and share them online and constantly be active in data science communities, constantly be sharing your data science work, sharing things online, implementing, learning new things. And make sure you have well polished profiles, make sure you have you're writing blog posts and such things. And then recruiters and employers will reach out to you. Every now and then you will get inbound requests on LinkedIn and they will reach out to you. And when they reach out to you, then you almost certainly are going to get an interview. But if somebody has reached out to you, that means they've already vetted your profile. So they already think you're a good fit for the role by looking at your projects and prior work. So those are all the ways in which you should apply. Easiest to hardest in terms of the amount of effort it takes, but effectiveness lowest to highest, right? Here are some examples of how to reach out on LinkedIn. So here's one example. Hey, Akash, my name is such and such. I'm passionate about data science, particularly data visualization. I love the idea behind Jovian. I would love to contribute. Is there a way I can do this is a person reached out to me in 2019. I replied to them, asked them to share their resume. And soon afterwards, we actually hired this person. So all this from just one cold LinkedIn message. It works. It absolutely works. You just have to do enough of it, and you have to make sure that you have a good profile and your profile is relevant for the role. Here's another one. You can see here this person applied for. So we had put up an internship listing on LinkedIn, and this person just found my email and reached out to me, described well, this was actually for a different role, for I think a software development role, and they described the skills that they had, which was exactly what we were looking for. And they described some of the projects that they've created, and they included their resume. It's a short email. Again, although 100 people applied to that internship, we ended up selecting this person simply because they made our job easier by reaching out to us directly and giving us all the information we needed to have. People don't want to look through hundreds of resumes. You can make their job easier by reaching out to them directly if you have the right profile for the role. So what I want to share with you, the next resource is a data science job application tracker. It's on bit.ly/ds job tracker. You can find it on this link. So because you will be applying to potentially dozens, maybe even hundreds of jobs, it's important to keep track of all the jobs that you're applying to, and it's important to try and even follow up. So here are some ways in which you can track your job listings. Every time you apply to a job, just fill out this sheet. So fill out the name of the company, the website of the company, fill out the role name, the location, whether it's remote, the salary, when the job was posted, the link to the job, the date you applied, where you applied from, Jovian, LinkedIn portal, company site, wherever you applied it from, the stage you're at. So you can be in one of these stages. You could be contacted, applied, shortlisted, pre-screened, interviewing, whatever. You can select the stage. You can select when there was a last update. You can keep track of a point of contact and make sure that you follow up regularly. So especially if you've reached out to somebody and they've not replied, it's a good idea to follow up once or twice. And as you keep applying to jobs, keep making entries in this sheet. And similarly, if you are reaching out to friends or for referrals, you can keep making entries of those friends or referrals here. So you can find out 10 people in your LinkedIn network who can refer you to data science roles. Keep track of their profiles here. Keep track of their emails, phone numbers, and contact them multiple times, and just keep following up with them. And once they refer you to a job, add the job here. And finally, you can see some overall stats in terms of how many jobs you've applied to, what stages you are in, what application stages you are in, and how many jobs you've applied to from different sources, right? So stay organized, and your idea is basically to move down the ladder. You want to go from contacted to offer received. And these are all the intermediate steps involved. And here's a quick README that you can use to track this as well. So if you should look at it as a scientific experiment, essentially, you should be tracking everything that you do in terms of job applications. You should be measuring how much progress you're able to make. If you're not getting shortlisted for a single job, that means there is some problem with your resume. So go back and fix your resume. Or maybe there's some problem in the skills or in your project. So maybe improve your skills or work on your projects. If you're getting shortlisted, but you're not able to get offers, then there's a problem with your interview preparation. So you need to work on your interview preparation. If you are, or there could be a problem with the way you're applying for jobs. So you can try to find a balance here so that you get more job applications through referrals rather than just by applying on places like LinkedIn. So track everything, measure everything, and stay organized and keep learning and improving on the side while you're applying for jobs. So that's how you apply for jobs the right way, and definitely use this job application tracker too. So in summary, we discussed what it takes to break into data science. You need to have a STEM degree, science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. You need to have some expertise in programming and statistics. You need to have data analysis and visualization and machine learning skills. And then you need to have demonstrated real world experience or projects. Then you need to prepare for interviews, and you need to know how to apply to jobs the right way. Understanding data science job roles, the kind of job roles that you want to apply for are data analyst, business analyst, junior data scientist, product analyst, decision scientist, or decision analyst. The kind of job roles that you should avoid initially are a data engineer, machine learning engineer. Again, if you have software development experience, then you can target these roles, not an issue. But again, you will need to have relevant projects in these domains. You should avoid like a lead data scientist, senior data scientist, principal data scientist. You should avoid AI researcher, ML researcher, deep learning researcher. So these are just some, you should avoid data science manager and all these roles, right? It's pretty obvious from the job listing. Typically, when if you read the job listing, you will know if your profile is a good match. Then you need to acquire the right skills and build the right projects. The skills you need: Python programming, statistics, data analysis, data visualization, business intelligence tools, Excel, SQL, Tableau, machine learning. And you need to build projects in all of these areas. So build a project on maybe on web scraping, build a project on exploratory data analysis, build a project on machine learning, maybe one on deep learning if you have the time, and publish your work online. Document your project, publish it on Jovian, publish it on GitHub. We have workshops that you can follow along with. So definitely do that. Then you need to craft a strong resume. You need to have a solid one-page resume showcasing your education, your work experience, your skills, certifications, and your data science projects. And you need to link to certifications and projects from your resume. And trust me, people go through these links and they review the quality of your code or the quality of your communication and presentation. So make sure that your links are working at top notch. You need to have a polished LinkedIn profile with all the sections filled in with all your projects featured, your about section explaining what you're looking for, containing all the right keywords and information about your job and your education. Once you have all of this, then you need to prepare for data science interviews. So the way to do that is watch some mock interviews and solve some technical questions every week, some coding challenges every week. Have prepared answers for non-technical questions. Tell me about yourself. What kind of work have you done in the past, etc. Next, you need to apply for jobs the right way. The most effective way is to be found instead of finding jobs. The most effective way is to get referrals or reach out, send cold emails. And then the less effective ways are applying via job portals. But you should do a mix of everything. And you should keep all your applications organized. Make sure that you're tracking everything and measuring whether you're moving forward or not. And if you're not moving forward, then go back into one of these stages and look back. If you're just getting started with, and if you've not learned any of these skills, then you can expect the process to take 6 to 9 months. If you've done a few data science courses and you've not built any projects, then that may take 3 to 6 months. If you've done some data science courses and you've built some projects, and you think that your profile currently is a good fit for data science roles, then it may take up to 3 months. Okay. So depending on where you are in the cycle, you might take up to 3 months. Or if you're ready and you just need to apply and prepare for interviews. If you need to build some projects, then maybe spend some time building projects. And finally, if you also need to learn, then you need to spend another 3 months just learning on the side while you build projects. Now, as I said in the beginning, if you're looking for a structured program, then you can also come join the Zero to Data Science Bootcamp. It's a 6-month program where you complete 7 practical courses, 4 coding assignments, and you build 4 real-world projects. And we guide you through the process of applying for jobs, preparing a resume, preparing for interviews, and we also conduct mock interviews. Thank you for joining. This was a webinar on how to get a data science job in 2022. even especially if you don't have any experience. That's not a problem if you have some good projects. So go ahead, try to follow the things that we've discussed in this webinar. Try to use the resources we've shared with you. We've shared a bunch of free resources, but you can also come join the Jovian Bootcamp. You can apply and we can talk to you. We offer scholarships as well. Definitely stay active in the Jovian community. We have a Discord server, we have a YouTube channel, we have a bunch of places where you can find us. And if you found this workshop, this webinar useful, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, comment if you have a question. We answer all the questions on our videos. And if you think somebody might find this helpful, then do share it with them. That's everything we have for you today. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day or good night.